Alrighty, folks, here we go. Welcome. 2025 US Chess Championships about to get underway. We are live here from St. Louis, not that far from the playing hall, going to be covering the action here on this channel. This is an official Chess Dojo watch party, so I hope y'all are excited to get into the games. We'll be trying to cover as many rounds as we can for this event. And yeah, should be great. This is one of the best tournaments of the year. US Championships, pretty much the strongest event on US soil, year in, year out, other than the Sinkfeld Cup. But anyways, super exciting at the US Championship. US Women's Championship also about to start. Games should be getting underway any moment now. I think they're doing the opening moves. Well, it's on a delay, but we should be seeing it live. Skebix asking the most important question: who are you rooting for? That's my question for you all, chat. Who are we rooting for? Let me take you guys through some of the players we have. Let's go back here. Oh, and looks like first move is played between Caruana and Oparin. I'll show you guys some of the pairings we have today. It's a little bit messed up, but we'll see it once we open up the games. So, playing in the open, we have Caruana, Aronian, Wesley So. Those are the three, let's call them professional favorites. And then we have a bunch of juniors as well, and then a couple of middle players. So the middle players, we have like Sam Shankland and Grigory Oparin. They're a bit on the older side. Darius Schwartz as well, Ray Robson. And then we have a number of juniors playing, which is making the event super fun to follow, including Andy Woodward, Abhimanyu Mishra, Awonder Liang, and Hans Niemann. Sam Sevian also there in the open section. So, folks, you let me know who you're rooting for, and yeah, this is gonna be a dojo watch party, so we'll just be kind of following the games, seeing what happens, trying to take a look at some chess. Not using engines, guys, no engines for the commentary or the analysis, just much more interesting that way and really get into the spirit of the games. Just looking at these openings, looks like we have Caro Kann between Sevian and Shankland, Italian game with So and Hans, and Nimzo with Queen C2 with Fabi against Oparin. Looks like Petrov and a Wonder Liang playing English against Mishra. Let's start with this Nimzo. So Caruana here, he's the #1 seed and three-time winner actually right now, back to back to back. So he's been in very good form in this tournament as of late, and let's see how he does here against this first round opponent, Grigory Oparin. I think this is Oparin's first U.S. championship. If I don't remember, does anyone remember if he played last year? This might be his first. Oparin, of course, very strong player, originally from Russia. Went to school here in Missouri at Mizzou University. And yeah, the story is, of course, he's been working with Fabi as a second for multiple years. I don't know if that's still current or active, but they definitely know each other quite well. And so this is essentially Fabi playing against one of his seconds. So not an easy pairing for him. But actually, he's already done something very interesting in the opening. He played Queen C2, Queen C2 Nimzo. So like Nimzo Indian, Bishop B4. Who's familiar with this opening? Who plays this from either side? Here, white, of course, has many options to develop the pieces here. Fabi goes for Queen C2, which is like a very classical approach, with the idea that you recapture on C3 with the queen so as not to spoil your structure. Black played D5. He goes A3 to challenge the bishop. Black takes on C3, and now instead of the logical and obvious queen takes C3, he goes ahead and takes with the pawn, which is very unique and he's kind of breaking like, it's not that he's breaking like known opening principles, he's just breaking opening logic. Like you played queen c2 in order to take back with the queen, and now he takes back with the pawn. If you wanted to take back with the pawn, you could of course play a3 in this position. Black would definitely take on c3 because otherwise your bishop is going to get trapped. Bishop a5 with b4. So black would definitely take. You would take with the pawn, and then you can decide if you want to go queen c2 or some other move. So Fabi, of course, he is tremendous in the opening. He comes up with all kinds of interesting ideas. This definitely looks like one of them. And even if, I mean, objectively, of course, the engine is going to say everything here is roughly equal. But I think the point now is that he's played something that seems to be out of Oparin's repertoire, because Oparin is already spending some time here. Or at the very least, it's going to be something that Oparin is not super familiar with. So that's kind of his angle for this game. He's trying to get his opponent out of book early on and trying to get a fight. Someone's saying Oparin did play last year. Thank you, Jackson. By the way, shout out to the YouTube chat, Twitch chat. We are dual streaming this event. And I think for today, it's just going to be me on the commentary. But during the weekdays, I'm sure David will be joining. So who are we rooting for, guys? I saw some people for Fabi, Levon, Alice Lee, rooting for Hans. Might finally end all the drama if he wins. Yeah, definitely Hans winning the tournament would cease the drama for sure. Oh man, yeah, I'm always actually very interested in seeing Hans play. I think he is actually a very interesting up and coming player. Like him or not, it's just interesting to see what his games are like. It's actually a great field in both sections, the open and the women's. We'll talk about the women's too, because there's a number of interesting players there, and it's a very, very competitive year for the women's. I'm personally super excited about this tournament, guys. I don't know about you, like maybe for y'all this is just like another tournament, especially if you're not like US based, but for US players, like US Championship, this is the most important tournament of the year. It's more important than, let's say, Sinkfield Cup and any other event, because the title is on the line. It's the US Championship title, and they only give out one per year, right? One to the open, one to the women. And there's a lot of records on this title. There's a lot of history. Fischer, of course, the leader in the open with the most number of championship titles. I think Fabi has 5, but he also has 3 in a row. So he's trying to catch up and overtake Fischer. And yeah, there's a lot of history riding on this tournament. Sadly, no Hikaru in the event, which is unfortunate, because he's one of the absolute best players in the US. And clearly he was available to play chess this weekend. Clearly he was available. And he just needs to get the games in, right? So there would have been 11 perfectly juicy games for him here in St. Louis. His wife happens to be playing. Actually, I really don't get. I thought he would maybe be here, like helping her, or supporting her in some way. No, he's off. He's off playing elsewhere. In Canada, trying to get the Canada champ. So it's a bit of a shame Hikaru's not here, because it's just nice to get the strongest possible field every year, and the stronger it is, the more meaningful it is for the winner, right? Because you're able to best a field that included all of the US's best players. And yeah, it's nice to just see the top guys try to rack up as many titles as they can. But anyways, a number of interesting players here. One including is Andy Woodward, the junior. He's playing, I believe, number 2 seed in the event, Levon Aronian. Levon, if you guys don't know, immigrated to the US a couple of years ago. Before that, he was one of the top players in the world for many, many years. And since then, he's now settled into the US. He had a child not that long ago. So he's still got a youngborn on his hands, and now he's playing one of the most promising juniors in the world, Andy Woodward, who actually defeated Levon in the FIDE Grand Swiss. They played not that long ago. They played last month. Andy had an amazing Grand Swiss, gained tons of points, got invited to FIDE World Cup. So he is on a tremendous rise. And it looks like he's playing Slav against Levon. Or he's playing d4, and Levon decided to play the Slav defense. Very solid. Knight f3, knight f6, e3. So this is known as the slow Slav. Because generally white is just kind of playing a slow development scheme. Like b3, bishop b2 here is pretty typical. So bishop g4, black develops the bishop, usually one of these two squares, knight c3, e6, and now h3, bishop h5, and here Andy is thinking. Lots of theory here. Yeah, the main idea for white generally is to play g4, followed by knight e5, and try to get the bishop pair. Here he goes for queen to b3. I think this is also playable. Not clear to me if he's in his opening book or what, because he spent a little bit of time already, but very, very typical move here. Queen to b3. And then, yeah, black is going to have a couple ways to defend the pawn. Generally, black goes queen b6 here and offers the endgame, but I think queen c7 is often playable. And yeah, we'll see what Levon chooses. We got a number of, I want to say dojoers in the tournament, but friends of the dojo. We'll call them friends of the dojo that we are definitely rooting for. Let's see. We got Sam Shankland, who has done streams on the channel. He's done some podcasts with us, U.S. chess school lessons. So he is playing right now against the other Sam Sevian. It looks like they have Carol Khan. And then Andy Woodward actually is also, I would say, a friend of the dojo. He recently played the Granky Open, and he didn't have a club, and everyone, was asked to like sign up with the club, so he just put Chess Dojo. That was the only one that he recognized. So he is an honorary member of the dojo as well. And then we have Mishra as well, who I would say is a friend of the dojo. He has become famous for not analyzing his games with the engine and doing his own analysis, which we often recommend here in the dojo, using less engines. He's playing a Wonder Liang, another prodigy. He's playing this like somewhat offbeat e3 and early d4 system, but now d5, knight f3. So they're getting a kind of King's Indian Grunfeld type position. Definitely the most unusual opening of the round so far, at least to my eyes. Hello, Sam Sweet. Speaking of the Sams. What's up? And then in the women's field, we have some really interesting players as well. Let me see if I can quickly switch over there. But a number of friends of the dojo from here. One is I am Tatev Abrahamyan, my friend here in St. Louis, my training partner. I've been helping her a bit in her events lately. She recently got her IM title and her first GM norm. So going into this event, she is doing really, really well chess-wise. And this first game here, she's playing against Megan Paragua, who's the youngest player in the event and also the lowest rated. It looks like Megan went for knight f3 and e3. So kind of a quiet system against Tatev's King's Indian. e5, d3, and okay. I mean, as a King's Indian player, I would be happy with black setup. I feel like this isn't the most ambitious for white. So hopefully Tatev is happy as well. So yeah, definitely rooting for Tatev here. Another friend of the dojo, Nazi Paikidze. She's playing Talia Cervantes. Although Talia, she's a St. Louis local. Can't say I'm really rooting against her. I feel like I know a lot of the players here in the women's section. So it's really actually hard to root against anyone. Nazi here playing King's Indian attack, and then this early move a4. This feels like some kind of opening trend. I don't know if anyone has seen this, but it's really interesting. Yeah, King's Indian attack, but with this a4, which is not a crazy move in the King's Indian. Black often plays a5. Like you play e4, you try to provoke the opponent into pushing, and then you get the c4 square for the knight. So yeah, very interesting opening here and played quickly. So I'm guessing Nazi probably knows this. And then we have yeah, such a great field this year. So we have Rose Atwell, who's one of the talented juniors in the U.S. And she was recently drafted by Jesse in the junior draft that we did not that long ago. He also drafted Alice Lee. So Jesse got the two U.S. juniors here. So Rose is a very interesting player because she just plays nonstop. She's improving a ton, and every year she's just doing better and better. I think she played last year's U.S. Championship, I would assume, but I don't remember exactly how she did. Today she's playing a French, and she's playing against another very interesting player. I am Anna Sargsyan. So this is Anna's first U.S. Championship. Anna actually comes from Armenia, and I guess recently transferred, and that's a pretty big deal because Anna was playing for their Olympiad team that won, I think the silver or bronze, I think bronze medal in the last Olympiad. But Anna now goes to school here in St. Louis. So a lot of these schools in St. Louis, Webster University, SLU University, Mizzou University, they end up collecting all these players, and a lot of these players end up living in the U.S. and then deciding to transfer. Right now, Ariantari, you guys might not know, Ariantari recently joined Mizzou University and is now one of the highest rated players in the U.S. collegiate scene. So Anna Sargsyan, I believe she goes to Webster University, so she's another transfer, decided to play U.S. Championship, and now is one of the top players in the U.S. So this is her first year playing, and definitely big dark horse of the event because this is her first time playing this field, and I'm sure this is the first time playing a lot of these players, so they don't really know her or know her style, so it'll be interesting to see how she fares, at the St. Louis tournament. A lot of drama, a lot of cameras, pressure, and so on. So here she played advanced French against Rose. And then we have another big matchup, Irina Krush against Alice Lee. If you guys are in the US, of course, you probably know these players. Irina Krush is 8-time champion and always one of the favorites in this event, though hasn't won it in a couple years. Carissa Yip has won it recently. Jennifer Yu won not that long ago, but it's been a couple of years since Irina last won. And Alice, of course, one of the top U.S. talents. She won the American Cup this year and the year before, so she won American Cup twice in a row. And every year I think people expect Alice to win the U.S. Championship because every year she gets stronger and stronger. So this game looks like Queen's Gambit declined. This is a typical opening for both players. And we have the exchange variation. Bishop g5. And black plays early bishop g4, which is a bit of a strange move. It invites white to play f3, which is a move white often wants to play in the middle game anyway. Followed by bishop d3, knight e2. But queen c2 played. Knight e2. And yeah, it also helps white move the queen, like queen c2. Queen could have come to b3, but I'm sure this is preparation. Alice generally really well prepared in the opening, and she still has 90 minutes on the clock. So time control is 90 plus 30. So 90 minutes, 30-second increment, and then an additional 30 minutes I move 40. So she is well in her book, so I'm sure this is some kind of preparation here. So castles, knight e2, and now black is possibly thinking a bit. Maybe this move knight a2 has taken Alice out of book. So many players to root for on the women's side. We have Tatev, Nazi, Rose, Alice. Carissa has been doing amazing things with her chess. So she seems to me like a bit of a favorite here going into the tournament. She's the #1 seed, super high confidence, but yeah, it's very tough. She's playing Atusa Prakashian, who is, I believe, 7 months pregnant with Hikaru's child. Hikaru is not in town, though. He's off in Canada playing a different tournament. He could have played U.S. Championship. I don't know if he's aware. He could have been playing U.S. Championship alongside his wife. I think that would have been very cool, but he's off playing like chumps like my rating. Anyways, Carissa, though, she won last year. And did she win the year before that? She might have won 2 years in a row. Anyway, she's looking to win again this year. She goes for the Italian game. Black plays this early h6, a4. Usually when black plays h6 this early, it means that they're not so much afraid of knight g5, bishop g5 stuff, but rather they want to play g5 themselves. So white has figured out that they need to push the a pawn here in order to kind of create drama. d6, a5, a6, c3, and now g6. So not g5, black goes g6. I'm not really familiar with the nuances here. I know in a lot of positions they go g5. Queen b3 attacking f7, queen e7 played, and now this is the live position. So this structure is very, very complicated, where typically white will at some point castle kingside, and then black is going to try to play a King's Indian attack style of play, where they go after white's kingside. And in the meantime, white's trying to create some play in the center and on the queen side of like d4 and d5. But it's hard for me to exactly to figure out like what the vision is for white. It's never easy. All right, let's check in with the chat. So yeah, what's white's plan here exactly? And Chris is already a little bit behind on time, so it will be interesting to see what kind of plan she comes up with, because it's very easy for white to just get steamrolled. This is one of those positions I think it's like really tricky, because from looking at it with the engine, I know that the computer always gives white some advantage, like plus 0.4, 0.5, 0.6 even. It says a4, a5, you know, this is fantastic for you. I am computer, I give you advantage. But then you get to the board and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this a4, a5? Do I go rook a4? Like what exactly do I do? And so yeah, Carissa, I think, is now thinking about it, because she set up this battery. Black has f7 defended, and she goes knight d2. Okay, so flexible move. But note that white is, I think, a little hesitant to castle here so quickly, because they know that eventually the attack is going to come. So maybe she's starting with knight d2, knight f1, knight e3 first. Knight d5 might be an idea, and then figuring out what to do with the king. Maybe the king can even go queenside at some point in the future. I'm not sure. Watch Hans. Okay, but Manos on YouTube said it has Wesley versus Cheater. Why are we watching women? So, hey guys, let's try to be like respectful to like me and the players. I understand that you can just type whatever and hit enter, but then everyone else has to like read it and see your thoughts. So just be mindful of that. Be mindful that everyone else can also see what you're writing. But yeah, so this is a dojo watch party. Lots of games will be covered. Basically the games that we're interested in. So there are many interesting games every like we haven't even discussed Gender for You against Anna Zatonsky, two former guys. Like US Championship, it's on the line. The US Championship is on the line. So it's like very, very important. It's like biggest tournament of the year for most of these players, pretty much. Most of these players. So super fun to follow. Okay, so this Carissa game is very interesting just because I'm curious how she's going to play it. Bishop g7, and she does castle. So she does decide to castle, and we'll see how this game develops. I was also curious about this King's Indian attack game. So this one, Nazi was playing really interesting. Knight c6, a4, bishop e7, bishop f4. Another move that's unusual for the King's Indian attack, but is typical for the King's Indian defense. Like from Black's point of view, it's like Black is playing bishop f5 and knight e4. Or in this case, bishop f4 and knight e5, which makes a lot of sense. Castles, but now e4. So Nazi here actually very, very well prepared. 93 minutes, up 20 minutes on the clock, and now just bangs out e4, which looks like some kind of pawn sacrifice. I'm just trying to understand how this works. So takes. And let's say Black can trade queens or go knight e4. And I guess White just gets tremendous compensation here. Maybe the immediate knight e5, maybe trading queens and then knight e5. And it's just going to be very difficult for Black to develop. Not sure. I don't see like a clear knockout or some reason that Black can't take the pawn. I think it's just like good compensation, but very unpleasant to face this when your opponent is essentially just blitzing. Because yeah, it's not so obvious what the idea is. It's just some like vague compensation, but it is a lot of pressure. Like this, let's say Black trades. I do think this would be annoying. Where like you can't develop and then the knight comes in, knight a3, knight b5. Hauslein had a game very, very similar to this. I was watching in Italy. He was next to me and his opponent stacked the pawn in a very similar way. And yeah, you just get this like very long-term pressure. Interesting. Okay, let's get back to open section. We'll check back in with the women. I just want to see how Tatev is doing. So d3, knight c6, rook b1. Now Black plays d5. So she spends an extra tempo to play d5, but basically it's like Black is now playing White. Has more space. So it looks like a nice position here for Tatev. Okay, let's go back to open. Okay, Hans game. We haven't seen Hans game yet. Let's see amazing Hans game. And it is very typical Italian game, folks. So not a whole lot to report here. We can go through the move order. I'm sure we're all experts on the nuances of the Italian game. Knight f6, d3. Now this is interesting in the sense that both of these guys, both Wesley and Hans, consider themselves to be Italian game aficionados. So this is like a battle between two Gioco piano geeks. Essentially. So castles, knight d2, d6. And the thing about these positions is that they're just like many, many different move orders. The positions they all kind of resemble each other, but in essence, White can play all these moves in some order. Castles, knight d2, c3, a4, h6. And from Black's point of view, they have a lot of ways they can kind of set up their pieces. They can go a6, they can go a5, bishop b6, bishop a7, they can go d6, they can play more open with d5. I would say from Black's point of view, this is the biggest choice they kind of have to make conceptually, is whether they want to break with d5, which usually they can do in one move if they want to just castle and go d5, or they can play with d6 and just get a more closed and solid structure. So Hans goes for d6, c3, a5, h3. So Black kind of carves out space on the queen side, making sure the bishop doesn't get trapped and White doesn't get this queen side expansion. Bishop a7, rook e1, knight e7, bishop e3, knight g6. So Hans goes for a very typical maneuver here, knight e7, knight g6, bringing the knight over to the king side. And here Wesley is thinking, Wesley's already spent some time here. He's down to 1 hour and 17, but I think he's just like trying to remember like different games, different ideas, different move orders. He's looked at these positions from both colors, like for hundreds and hundreds of hours. So I don't know, maybe he remembers something, maybe he doesn't. It's hard to say. These guys are very, very good. My best guess is that he just, the thematic moves for White here are pretty straightforward. You can go a4, you can go knight f1, trying to transfer your own knight. You can transfer it via c4 to e3 square. I think knight f1 here seems to be the most logical move. You can also play d4 as White. d4 is something that White is often considering as well. So basically he's just kind of choosing like what he wants to do in this position. But this game still so much still very much developing here. And I don't think, yeah, it's probably not going to get sharp for some time. So yeah, what do you guys think here? D4? Feels like the chat is vibing with D4 for the most part. But yeah, Wesley thinking here. Okay, so we'll come back to this one, guys. Not the most exciting games. If something happens to Hans, I'm sure we will hear about it very, very quickly. Let's see. So this Fabi game was very interesting because here there was something kind of fresh in the opening, right? Not this like same old Italian game that we've seen billion times. We have this like really interesting Queen C2, A3, and then it just takes with the pawn. D6, Knight F3, B6, Bishop G5, H6. So Oparin here already spent 20 minutes, so he's definitely been caught a little bit out of book here. H6, Bishop H4. But position is still very very thematic. So black, I'm sure, doesn't feel like he's in so much danger here. He can develop the bishop, he can go knight d7, he can castle, etc., etc. Is b takes c3 theory? I thought the whole point of queen c2 was to recapture the queen. No, that's what I've been saying, B. I think maybe missed it at the start. But yeah, I mean, what Fabi did here is very interesting. I don't know if it's, I don't know if this has been played before. Maybe there was in some games, but conceptually, it's very strange. You play queen c2, and then you go a3 and take with the pawn. It is logical in the sense that black is committed to d5. So if white had started with a3 here, then black has many setups and doesn't have to play d5. They can play d6, b6, and so on. So I don't know if that's kind of the point of white's move order, is that he now plays a3 on d5. But it is very unusual. Like if you looked at the database, I would think 99% of games here feature queen takes c3. If you just consider all the games that played this position. So bc and c6. Is black supposed to play c6 though? I mean, supposed to is kind of a strong word. I think in general in the Nimzo Indian, there's different setups that black can achieve. So c6 or that black can play for. c6 is a move that is played in these structures. Sometimes black plays with c5, sometimes they play with b6, but c6 is also a reasonable choice. Why it's so hard to understand? Fabi doesn't want to play theory against 2600, which is for sure inferior to him. He wants to win. No, I don't think that's hard to understand. It's just I don't know what you're reacting to exactly, but I was just saying this idea with queen c2 and then taking with the pawn is very unique, right? Because usually the idea of queen c2 is to take with the queen, right? It's not like you can just make random moves in the opening and be like, well, I'm avoiding theory, therefore h3 here is a decent move, or a4 here is a good move because I'm avoiding. No, it's like, you know, you still have to play good chess and your moves have to have a deep idea. So it's cool because it's like he's clearly found some kind of idea with this, even though it's very counterintuitive. And yeah, he's playing the guy that he's worked with in terms of the opening. So of course, and in general, Oparin is just known to be a very well-prepared player, regardless of whether he's worked with Fabi or not. So yeah, it always makes sense to try and get your opponent out of book. It's just hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard to reach a fresh position that's playable, that's not just like just as playable, right? Because you don't want to just get some equal position where your opponent has equal play, equal counterplay, because then you're just opening yourself up to lose, right? You're taking risk without necessarily a lot of reward. So you're still trying to find positions where you're the one that's squeezing a little bit and you have some pressure over the opponent. So, very, very delicate task, but we'll see. We'll see who wins the tournament. We'll see if it's the player that is generally getting good positions out of the opening, time on the clock, or if it's the player that just happens to play the best chess, like makes the fewest mistakes. Okay, guys, if there are other games you want to check out, let me know. I'm just looking around here, seeing what kind of positions we got. Now this one here, we had I was interested in this one. I wonder Liang against Abhimanyu Mishra. So I'll go back for anyone that missed this opening. It was English, G6, which is kind of a Grunfeld King's Indian move order. Knight C3, C5. Now we get symmetrical English. White goes E3. And D4. And then in particular, this move from a wonder is kind of like, this to me is quite ambitious. But his idea is to take space in the center. Generally, the normal move would be knight f3, but then he's presumably worried about an eventual d5, where if white takes, black takes. This is a very comfortable position for black as white has this isolated queen pawn. So white goes d5, but at the cost of time and the c5 square. So e6, black starts chipping away. This is very logical. Takes on d5, d6, knight d7, knight c5, rook c1. And yeah, I don't think this is supposed to be tremendous for white. I feel like black's position here is actually quite comfortable because although black has less space, it feels like all the pieces are going to be able to come out and have good squares. And so if all your pieces have good squares, then you don't really have less space. A space advantage is only relevant if it's cramping your pieces. And in this case, it's clear that black will be able to play like bishop f5, bishop g4, knight e4 at some point. And should be okay. Everything kind of comes out. Mishra has spent some time though. He's down 30 minutes on the clock, but so far he's got I think a very comfortable game here. Who do I think will win the Open? It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Fabi is the tiny bit favorite because he's won 3 years in a row, and he's the highest rated player. So he's won before. He's the highest rated player. He seems to be in decent form. He just won the Grand Chess Tour final not that long ago, very, very recently. So to me, he's a tiny bit favorite, but this tournament is so tight that like he could have a good tournament and still not win it. Like in 2018, he had a great tournament in 2018. But I don't know if you guys know who won the tournament. But it wasn't Fabiano Caruana, although he had a great event. He had like +4, +5 or something. It was Sam Shanklin. Sam Shanklin managed to win the tournament. He just like won a bunch of games and didn't lose too many. And so it's truly like anyone's tournament. Like there are a couple players that, okay, very unlikely to win, but generally anyone can have a good tournament. So I could see Levon winning. I could see Wesley winning. I could see Sam Shanklin winning again if he has a good run. I could see Ray Robson winning. I could see Hans winning. Hans was doing really well in the Grand Swiss. If he keeps up his good form, doesn't lose games, beats the low rated players, Hans could easily, fight for first. So it really is kind of wide open. But I guess Fabi, I feel like, has tiny better chances. Okay, bishop d7 played from Mishra. Interesting that he put the bishop here and not somewhere more active like f5 or g4. I can understand bishop f5. He maybe was unhappy about knight d4 and not wanting to give up the bishop. But bishop g4 to me feels very logical. I think black would be happy to trade off this piece, put a knight on e5. If bishop f5, knight d4, bishop d7, is the knight better on d4 versus? I feel like it is better here. I feel like I would rather have the knight on d4. So I can imagine maybe he didn't want that, but yeah, bishop g4 feels very, very normal to me. I don't really see what's wrong with bishop d7. It's also a decent square. Gets ready to open up the rooks. Okay, rook e1 played from a wonder. Pretty quick. A wonder playing fast. He's playing fast as if he's in his preparation, but like it was such a maybe he is actually. Both sides have played very kind of natural moves. Maybe he's still following his preparation, and Mishra has just been following one of the top lines of the engine. So rook e1, white continues to improve the position, but of course he's gonna have to show like what exactly, like because black has many moves to just keep improving his own situation. So at some point, white's gonna have to show what the plan is, like what he's actually playing for here. Some kind of attack, some kind of pressure. He can make one move threats with bishop f4, but that's not really, it's not really what constitutes a plan. Did I miss your thoughts on Hikaru not playing? You did actually. You did. I'm very confused. Why? Well, not confused why he's not playing, but I do wish he was playing. Because it's a strong tournament, and I think the title is worth fighting for. The title is worth fighting for. And like okay, his wife is playing in the she's like right there in the room. That's cool. You know how many times you get to play like championship side by side with your partner. I feel like that's pretty cool. Like pretty cool opportunity. And he can get his games. He gets many more games here than in Canada. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's better. I think it's better content too. I think it's better content to watch Hikaru try to fight for US championship title, try to get as many titles as he can. Yeah, interesting question if a Wonder's still in his prep. I mean, I think he is based on how quickly he's played. It doesn't really make sense that he would be blitzing this out if he wasn't prepared. Now, does he think he's going to win here? I don't know. I mean, look, chess is a difficult game. It's not like if you just prepare for a couple hours, you're gonna win, right? That then why would be winning every game, right? These players, if there was something they could just prepare and win the game, they would do it. So at this level, players are just like they're just looking for like half an idea. They're looking for half an idea that they can try just to get some position, try and outplay the opponent later on. How should one play practically and psychologically in tense, complicated positions in deep time trouble? Um, well, I think you got to realize, deep time trouble is a very stressful situation. So mainly you just have to try to keep your cool and try not to play too complicated, right? Um, try to play according to the needs of the position, right? Just try to play the most intuitive move you can find. Rook e8 for Mishra, which to me is incredibly logical. Maybe I don't think he's gonna take, but this is the kind of exchange sacrifice Black is already thinking about because it kind of spoils White's position and gives all of Black's pieces really good targets. Yeah, Oscar is asking if White plays h3. Yeah, if White plays h3, then it makes the exchange sack even more tempting because the dark squares have been weakened. So I don't know if black would really like. This is a little bit hard for me to believe because it's just like one weakness. But it's definitely a consideration. It's definitely a consideration. I feel like it just might be unnecessary. Like black's position here is quite comfortable that you can probably play without sacrificing anything. So it doesn't seem necessary. But it will be very interesting to see if he does it. It's definitely something that you're always kind of considering in these positions because you never know, it might turn out well. They say you have to start your kid young. Hikaru's kid is playing his first US championship. Nice. Yeah, hilarious. Okay, bishop f1. So, very patient play from a wonder. Let's check in with our boy Sam Shankland. So Sam decided to play Caro-Kann, which he has played before, but normally Sam either plays Sicilian or e4, e5. So Caro-Kann is a tiny bit surprised from him. I think he's played some French recently too. Sevian goes for advance with h4, h5, bishop d3, check and e6. And here black played this typical queen a6, looking to trade the queens. Sevian obliges and goes b4, knight b3, and a4. So Sam looking to push in this endgame. Sam Sevian, that is. And black's last move is b6. This is an endgame I haven't really like studied or seen much of. Like Caro-Kann endgame, it's like a queenless middle game, right? Most of the pieces still on the board. Black has managed to trade light square bishops, which is good for black, but white still has more space with the structure. So I would think that white is still the one that's pressing here, but it's a very close position, and so it's not easy to break through. Yeah, we can look at Ray's game next for sure. So Sean asking, how do you not crack under time pressure? It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, you're basically asking like, how do you be a good chess player? It's like takes a lot of effort. I don't think it's like a simple like thing that you just apply and all of a sudden. But I would say like it takes a lot of like practice. So people that are good under pressure have generally played a lot of chess and they've gotten that experience in those reps. And so they're more used to playing under pressure, and so they're able to kind of keep their cool and not make huge mistakes. The main thing I would suggest during time trouble is like try not to blunder, right? Try to be aware of like what's hanging, and before you make a move, try to make sure that it's not hanging. And then it's really all about like maintaining your nerves. So like try to breathe and like just like relax and see the position. Some people get very, very nervous and they just like can't breathe, and then they lose sight of the board and their vision gets blurry and they get sweaty and then they just completely collapse. And it's like, yeah, that's a big problem. If that happens every time you're in time pressure, then that's you really need to avoid time pressure, number one. But number two, you probably need to like deal with like your pressure and your nerves at some point, because that will really mess with you. So yeah, it'll be interesting how Sevian plays this endgame. where he's going to put the king, what kind of plan he's playing for him. He's already pushed quite a bit on the queen side. So we'll see if he looks to break with a5. But I think black's idea is that they want to meet a5 with b5. Keep everything locked up. And if white goes b5 themselves, then black takes, and maybe knight c7, and the pawn on b5 is gonna be weak. I still haven't seen Hans's game. We looked at Hans's game earlier, folks. We looked at it earlier. It was not a very interesting game. It's still developing. Still developing. But we'll take a look at it soon. By the way, guys, all the games are live. If you Google US Chess Championship, chess.com, Lee Chess, you can find the live games. There's 12 games going on, so obviously we won't be able to watch all of them at the same time. So that's the point of the watch party. You guys can go look at whatever games you want, and we can, we'll take a look. And yeah, you guys are always free to make suggestions on which games you want to watch. Just don't like complain about it, because again, guys, I'll remind you, people have to read what you're writing in the chat. So if you're like complaining, like we don't know what you, like you just sound like a crybaby, to be honest. Like, so just like be chill. Let's pretend we're all friends. Let's act as if we're all friends and we all like each other. It's like that, it's like imagine you're at my house and we're watching the games together, and then you're like complaining, I haven't seen Hans in this game. Like, what are you doing? What are you so please be respectful. Please be respectful to the host. You guys are guests here in our dojo, right? This is the dojo. We've opened up the doors to watch the US Championship. So please be polite. Okay, we want to look at Ray's game. Yeah, so I think this was Petrov. Let's go back. Okay, e4, e5. And Darius plays d4, which is one of the main lines. Knight takes e4, bishop d3. Attacks the knight before winning back the pawn. Whoops. So here, and takes. And then knight d7. Knight c3. Knight c3. Actually, knight d7, I'm pretty sure if white wants, they can force a draw with knight takes f7 in this line. The idea, you go queen h5 check. And then black, I think, needs to play king e6 to defend the pawn. And then you go back queen e2, threatening f3. And then if you win your piece back, you're doing really well. And I think black doesn't have a better move than king f7, if I remember correctly. And then white can make a draw like this. Okay, but Darius doesn't want to do that in round one. He goes knight c3. So developing, black trades off on c3. White structure is weakened a bit, but he can play c4 somewhere to trade that one off. So bishop d6, castles, rook e1, c5, queen f3. A pretty typical structure, I feel, for the Petrov. White maybe gets a small advantage, but not more. So c4, bishop f5 played, knight e5, de, bishop c5, and this is a live position here. So yeah, structure is pretty double-edged, because white has quite a few weaknesses, but he also has more space, and black's pawn on d5 is weak as well. I feel like black is okay. Like, he's going to park his bishop on e6, and then d5 will be rock solid. It'll be hard for white to break on the king side. On the same time, it's hard for black to really attack these pawns. It's like just not so easy to target them. So this feels pretty balanced. Maybe white is going queen g4 somewhere. But yeah, I feel like black just puts the bishop on e6, bishop f4. White tries to go for like rook a d1, but I think black should be in time there to develop like queen e7, rook d8. Hello, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. You love that we do this with no eval. Really makes us all do the work to assess. And yeah, I mean, look, I think the no engine commentary, it's like uh number one, you're closer to the players when you do no engine. At least with like with like someone like me, like someone doing commentary. Like I don't know exactly what these guys are thinking, right? But at least I can guess at the kinds of lines that they're looking at, what's critical, what looks scary, and so on. Whereas the engine's like 3700 level, right? And it's just showing all these like moves, and it's like all this like random analysis, and it's honestly a lot of times it has nothing to do with what the players are looking at. So if you actually like want to understand what's going on in a position, I think it's much more useful to just like discuss it with another human. Um, but yeah, and we'll miss like some tactical stuff, of course. We'll miss all kinds of stuff, but yeah, I think us at 2400, 2350, we're closer to the players, right? Players are like 2800, and engines are 3600. So 800 points. So we're closer. We're closer. Yeah, and we get to sweat along with the players and kind of feel the problems that they're feeling, and yeah, it's just so much more interesting this way. Occasionally, I like to check some stuff. I'm really confused. I don't understand something. I need some answer. I'll check with the engine, but sometimes after the game, I mean, it's better to have these questions versus just looking at the engine and thinking it all makes sense. Okay, Andy Woodward. He played this queen b3 line against Levon. Queen b6, 95, 97, 93. Bishop d6, bishop d2, bishop e7, rook c1. And here Levon goes for the endgame and now plays knight a6. So another interesting queenless middle game here. Feels like this is what Levon would want against the kid, a little bit less tactical. Andy, amazing with the tactics. He's a Puzzle Rush world champion, having defeated the 5-time winner Ray Robson in the last year. Andy was the finalist last. So Andy Woodward, like, amazing at puzzles. Very, very quick tactically. Do I feel that the boring drawish reputation of the Petrov is overstated? I'd argue that's most likely true for GMs, but for sub 2200 is not the case, right? Well, this is the thing for like pretty much all openings and all opening discourse. And the reason why most of it is nonsense is because people take something that they hear some grandmaster say about some opening at GM level, and then they think that it applies to like lower levels. So GMs will say like, oh, there's a lot of theory in the Najdorf, or like the Petrov is drawish, or the Berlin is drawish. But yeah, lower levels, like it's all nonsense. Like it's just completely, you can play any opening and like make it work at lower levels. So yeah, there's definitely some openings that are sharper and some openings that are more solid. So Petrov definitely more solid opening, Najdorf more sharp opening. But yeah, I think in general people read too much stuff on the internet and then they try to apply it to their own lives. Instead of just like reading chess books and doing the work. And Honest Doubter says, I've told Dojo before, if you were able to do consistent no engine commentary for major events, you'd have a pretty large following for that. Well, hello. What are we here for? Hello, that's that's what we're doing. We did Grand Swiss, we did candidates, we did World Championship, we're doing World Cup. We're building the thing, all right? We're building the thing. We're doing US Championships. So if you qualify to US Championship, you get the games analyzed by us for free. Yep, big perk. Big perk of the dojo. Jackson says, without engine, the commentators are more entertainment than anything instructional. It's not helpful. It's just entertainment. Okay, I'm not sure if that came off the way you intended it, but I am glad I'm entertaining and not helpful at all. Or are you talking about like the streams with the engine? And then it's like when commentators are used to using the engine, then without the engine, it's like they sometimes feel. Yeah, because for me, it's like fun to do the analysis part is honestly very fun and interesting. It's like you get to really get a lot out of it. Ah, we should advertise the no engine commentaries. Well, if you have any ideas, honestly, we're all ears. We're always looking for help, people to spread the word, post our stuff on Reddit and the social medias, and et cetera, et cetera. But believe me, we are trying. We are trying. Okay, knight f4, and now Levon quickly plays knight b4. Quickly. Levon's a fast player. You know, he likes playing quickly. Of course, they're way well out of book at this point, right? And neither player knows what's going on, but Levon here takes advantage of white moving the knight away from the d3 square, and he might be trying to outplay young Andy Woodward here. Though I don't really see any, like, there's no knight c2 check here, because if white wants to, he can just take on g6 right away and go bishop b2, so there's not really a lot to fear here for white, but yeah, he's going to get the bishop pair, and we'll see if he can make something out of it. Oh, guys, look at what Fabi did. E3, castles, and now g4. Love it. Love it. Now, guys, this is not a pawn sacrifice. Well, it kind of is. Black can't take the pawn right away because queen is lost. But black could go g5. And then let's say white goes back. And then takes. So black could take this pawn, but I think it would be extremely risky after something like h4. And I don't think he's going to take, because it just looks like your king is wide open and you're going to get checkmated here. White castles queenside, brings the other rook to g1. Okay, so Fabi going for it in this first game. And yeah, this is what happens when you play a little bit offbeat line. Your opponent makes some natural moves, but then you might be able to hit him with a thing like g4. $26.50 just crack you with that. Okay, guys, let's relax with a lot of hot takes today. A lot of hot takes in the chat. these guys are good, but this is very scary. This is very scary. On the other hand, you know, white is also taking on a lot of risk. It's not that easy to just attack and leave your king in the center, right? So you still have to play well. It's one of my favorite phrases and sayings in chess, guys. I'll share with you. It's not enough to be a good player. You also have to play well. Because black will, he's gonna spend some time here. I think he's gonna tank, but he's gonna find some way to create some counterplay. So rook e8, e5. He can go c5 here. c5 to me feels very logical, followed by bishop b7. And it's not like black has really done anything wrong, right? So it's not like he should just be like losing. Wait, is that true, Caesar? Somebody's holding an umbrella for Wesley because of the sun. I'm not watching the video. Oh, and Patton just said that in the Twitch. Wow. So if I'm seeing something in the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat, then it must be true. Chief Arbiter just turned up with an umbrella to block Wesley. That's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, Fabi is very, very good at finding fresh ideas in the opening. But I wouldn't say that. I think it's a oversimplification to say 2650s are just bad again. Like everyone is bad when they face a surprising opening. It's just a generally unpleasant. Like I think if you look at any player, they're gonna perform worse when faced with an opening surprise. I don't think it's really specific to the 2650 guys. Everybody was laughing except for Shay. Ah, that's funny. In its own right. Here's a hot take from Rita. I should go to US Open more often. I do like US Open. I mean, that is kind of my dream to try to win that tournament. I wasn't close in 20. I've never been close to winning, I have to say. Am I afraid of lower rate opponents playing exchange against kings? No, because again, like at lower levels, it's hard to force a draw from the opening. You know, everything is playable. So no. I am not afraid. Lucina suggested. Well, let's see how long Oparin lasts. Look, I'm not saying Oparin is gonna like hold this game. He's playing Caruana. Like, what are we talking about here? Yes, I think playing black against 2800 is difficult if you're not equal to their level. Especially, yeah, you get faced with an opening surprise, like, and you're getting attacked. No, no, absolutely. It's a very unpleasant situation for Oparin. I'm just saying he doesn't lose like 10 times out of 10. You know, like that's all I'm saying here. And if he loses today, that doesn't mean he would have lost 10 games out of 10, right? It's just trying to be. I'm the commentator. I'm just trying to be like a little bit objective. You know, people love to throw around claims and phrases. I'm just trying to be objective and give you guys my thoughts. Okay, but he is tanking here, so it's a super tough thing to deal with. Now, Fustres, you were asking about the sack in case of g5, and you wanted to sack the bishop. Normally, I would think about sacking the knight to keep the dark square bishop for the attack, but this one I would have a hard time believing that white. I don't see the potential here. Like, how are we getting to the king? Black can try to defend, like king g7, rook h8, but I don't quite see our attack here so much. So on g5, I would expect white just drops back and then basically pre-moves h4. Oh, what about g5 and knight e4? Yeah, I think this is thematic. This is very much like a Rogozin defense, where this kind of stuff often happens. Um, in fact, I mean, yeah, it's very different, but like, or somewhat different, but yeah, in the Rogozin, you can sometimes get these positions. So 94 again, I would think white goes h4 and it's scary, or bishop d3 perhaps. But h4 to me looks reasonable. Even just like allowing this and just looking to open up the h file, and yeah, to me this feels like white has a very very strong attack. How do we pre-move in OTB? Actually, it's very simple. You make your move. Not many people know this. You make your move to pre-move. You pause the clock. You call the arbiter. You show them your I'm pre-moving h4, so they can see it. It has to be like verbal, or you can like kind of gesture, and then the arbiter watches the game until your opponent makes their next move, and then if your pre-move is legal, they enforce once the opponent makes their move, they just kind of enforce you to make your own move. And general etiquette is like, if you announce a pre-move OTB, you just make it really quickly. You don't really pretend that you didn't pre-move, or because like your arbiter is watching, you know, you committed to it. It's kind of like sealing a move. You guys remember adjournment? It's very similar to that. So you seal your pre-move, and sometimes the opponent knows, sometimes they don't know. You don't have to show the opponent, but generally they can kind of figure out what you've pre-moved, and then they can act accordingly. But yeah, that's how you do it. Did I see the umbrella situation? I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure it'll come up in a reel. I'm sure it'll be I'm sure it'll be in a clip. Ah, there we go. Thank you, thank you. Here, I wonder, can I just let me just put this up. Here, guys, I'll put it up for everyone. This is so good. I'm sorry. That's Chris Bird. Is the sun coming from? Ah, Hans is there. Yeah, I guess it's a skylight. Man, it's the new club. They haven't, you know, they didn't think of this. They didn't think of it. New club, it looks amazing, but they're playing in the club, which is very cool, actually, guys. You know, I didn't mention this, but it's like first time in a couple of years that they're playing one of their main events inside the chess club and not like at the Hall of Fame or somewhere else. But the players are back in the club, which is very, very cool to see. But yeah, that was super funny. I'm sure Chris Bird was not expecting that. Okay, guys, let's speak of the devil. Let's check out this Wesley Sohan's game. So this is the sunlight game. This is the sunlight game. Hello, Justin. Glad to hear it. All right, so let's go back. So this is the game that was still developing. So knight f1, c6, knight g3. Yeah, haters will say it's AI. Umbrella guy. That's gonna be the thing on Reddit. Hans hires personal umbrella guys. Okay, so d5. So we were thinking Wesley might go d4. He decides to go knight f1. Allows black to play d5. Takes, typical reaction. Knight takes d5. d4, strikes back. e4, knight takes d4. Bishop e6. Bishop e6, very interesting move. Allowing white to take on e6 because he's going to have the counterplay against f2. So this is a reasonable exchange for black. So Wesley went knight e4. Now this structure is quite unusual because it's like symmetrical, but at the same time, all the pieces are on the board, so it's quite complicated to play. Now Hans took on d4. I don't know why he didn't play knight e5, completing the horse cube. Generally, the guys at the top, they like making the horse cube because it's just very solid for both sides. Like when you have a horse cube, neither side can really lose. So maybe, okay, he was worried about knight g5. Maybe horse cube. Horse cube is not always so strong. So it takes on d4, gives up the bishop. Queen takes d4, knight f4. And now this is the live position. So Wesley here is thinking about it. Now Wesley's no stranger to the bishop pair. And I'm sure Hans did not just give up the bishop for no reason, but he's probably trying to kind of liquidate. I'm guessing the light square bishops here might be coming off soon. And then if you can trade off one pair of bishops, then generally you're kind of doing fine for black. You know, one bishop is not going to kill you. But looks like his idea is to just force exchanges. Like if white takes on f4, he can throw this one in. White has no in-between moves, would take back and then take this one, and then black has nice control over the d5 score. So this would be completely fine for black. So I don't think we're going to see bishop takes f4. We might see queen takes d8, but then black is getting to the d file first. And bishop c2 to try to keep pieces. Black can go knight d3 and essentially force off one of the bishops. So to me, it seems like Hans should be equalizing comfortably here. And I would expect this game to be a draw. Wesley, though, very, very good technical player. I mean, you don't want to give him any kind of small technical endgame, because I think he will do very well to punish you there. But to me, it seems like Black should be okay. Oh, okay, there's a detail there. So Fisher Seb says takes. Bishop c2. If knight d3, White can take and go knight c5, which is true. And then rook d6. This one is hanging. So yeah, not so easy for Black. So knight d3 here actually I think is not working, but maybe Black has other moves. Bishop d5. And then rook e8. Still bishop pair for White, but Black is very, very active here. So I would think Black is solid and should be all right. Glimpses, though, it's giving that endgame, that gear you won against Hans in the last round of Grand Swiss, where he also had pair of bishops in the endgame, and then you just slowly squeezed his advantage. Okay, looks like we have a move. Queen takes d8. So Wesley goes for the queen trade. I was thinking this one, but rook f d8 also makes sense because you can use the a rook to push a4. So I think either one is maybe rook f d8 is even more natural here. Yeah, rook f d8 played, which also allows Black to bring in the king a bit easier. So yeah, feels like Hans should be okay. I mean, if I remember that game, I mean, no, it was like it was in English, and White was basically better the whole game. I don't think Hans ever had chances to win that game. I think he was mostly just slightly worse, and then Gary just played very well from a technical point of view. But of course, last round Grand Swiss. So I mean, very different situation. Very different situation. This is round one. Nothing is on the line. Draw is absolutely okay. But he might have, as a chess player, of course, you have a memory, right, for your games, especially recent games, recent losses, important losses, right? If he won that game against Gary, he'd be in the canonist potentially, right? And so he lost without really having a lot of chances. So it's like, it's very natural for players to kind of have those traumatic memories. Okay, trying to schedule some podcasts here. Okay, now Wesley thinking here. A few players actually, most games, this is interesting, most games in the Open, all games actually, have someone with a time advantage. Name any game, guys. One of the players has over an hour and the other one has less than 50 minutes. The closest one is a wonder Liang against Mishra with 106 against 51. But in all these other games, Andy Woodward here is down on the clock. Oparin here is thinking he's falling behind on the clock. So actually, Kalen might be right. Oparin might. Okay, he finally made a move here. Queen e8. A good thing they're listening to us in the playing room so that they can play. Okay, finally Oparin made a move Queen e8. But now, in addition to being under huge pressure on the board, he's also going to be under huge pressure on the clock. Wesley is down to 43 minutes. Sam Sevian 44 minutes against 30 minutes extra for Shane Clint. Thank you, Jose. Thank you. No, I totally agree. I mean, look, this is the watch party, guys, right? It's not going to be the official commentary. We're going to say some things that in other contexts would get us in trouble. And, we're just watching the games and then trying to get a feeling for what the players are thinking. So, yeah, we don't, when a player sees a move like 97, they don't see some orange question mark and like, oh, blunder. It's just like, oh, 97 looks like a normal move. But sometimes, okay, we might notice some blunders here. As well. Okay. Things are starting to heat up. I think we should watch this Fabi game against Oparin just because it looks like it could be very, very sharp. And I'm sure Fabi is looking to start off with a win against one of the outsiders. Queen e8 played, right, looking for e5 most likely. And so white would have a couple options here. Rook to g1, I would start with. G5 you could also just play because why not? Maybe you could even consider castling. But I don't know if you need to castle just yet. There might be cases where white just puts the king in the center. Sam, who'd you beat? You beat Fabi? Or you beat Oparin? Why queen e8 over rook e8? My best guess is to unpin. But of course he spent a lot of time on this move. So yeah, I'm sure it's a deep move, but a lot of times when people spend a lot of time, it doesn't necessarily mean they're playing the best move. It's just they don't really know what to do, and eventually they just make a move because like they got to play something. So it's a very logical move, of course, though. You unpin, you allow yourself to play knight e4. And now Fabi, of course, he played this g4 move. I don't think this was his prep. I think this is just an idea that he's seen before in many different positions, decided to try it out here, and now he's going to have to follow up. So Fabi playing very, very ambitiously, which I love to see. I think he's very, very good at these attacking positions. So we might be in store for another Fabi masterclass today. Yeah, let's stick with this game, guys. If something interesting happens elsewhere, you let me know. Isn't Oparin his second for many tournaments? Yes, I believe so. He might currently be his second. Not for this event, but just in general. Actually, if you guys go to the St. Louis Chess Club Instagram, they posted a reel that I just happened to be from the opening ceremony last night, which I attended, which was very interesting. I'd be happy to share with you guys some stuff on that. We had some Hall of Fame inductions, some nice speeches. Fabi was playing against Oparin at the opening ceremony. So clearly they're still, acquaintanced. And then Gary Kasparov was watching. There's a funny reel with his reaction, and then I happened to be caught in the background, which was really funny. Sushan, yes, you had a question. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of chat coming in, so I sometimes miss. The question was, how did you move from 2000 to an IM? Oh boy. Okay, how much time do we have? I actually made a video on this, Sushan, it might have been on my personal channel, but it was called something like that. It was like how I became IM or something, and I actually talked specifically about the stuff that I did to go from around there, maybe 2200 to 2400. I mean, it was a very big jump, so it wasn't like a couple things, but I did a whole video on it. If you want to check that out on my channel. Is that why they got paired in the first round? No, the first round pairings were random. They did the drawing of lots last night. It was completely randomized, and yeah, they just happened to be paired together. G5 played, takes, and knight G5 on the board. Yeah, very logical play from Fabi. Kind of starts eyeing this H7 square and opens the the G file. Yeah, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous attacking position for white. Personally, I love these kinds of positions. I don't know many players who don't. You just get to attack. And a sharp game for Oparin. He's gonna have to fight against his his master, so to speak, which is not easy. I mean, he knows how strong Fabi is, so it's not easy to fight against him. I'm expecting E5 though. E5 to me seems to be the most kind of principled move. That would be my first guess. I don't know if this is best, but E5 feels like this is what black should be doing. What age was I? 2000. Honestly, maybe 16, maybe 15, 16. I think I got master when I was 18. Yeah, so maybe black goes for E5, E4 to try and keep white's queen out. It's tough. I'm not exactly sure how black is developing their position here, because for white it's like very clear. You put rooks on the G file and you move the knight somewhere, and then you have attacking ideas. So, okay, E5 play. Yeah, Oparin I think realizes he basically has to do this. See guys, we're finding all the moves. The chat was suggesting G5. We obviously saw E5 coming. So it's like you don't like need the engine to like kind of get a feeling for what is happening. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The players also don't have an engine, right? So it's like they also don't know what they're missing. Oh no, bishop pair. I'm sorry to hear that. But it doesn't mean it's over. You know, you can always reset. You can always reset and start again. Okay, E5 on the board. Folks, I'm going to take a quick break here. We've been streaming for about an hour and a half. I'll leave this game on. And we will be back soon with more coverage. US Championships. Alrighty, guys, what's happening? Bobby's still thinking. I got some literal popcorn for the games. So now it's not a real watch party without snacks. Now it's a real watch party. It's the kettle corn. Kettle corn. Gluten free. So it's healthy. Okay. See here. Any updates? No updates. Fabi here still thinking on e5. I feel like rook g1 is natural. Bishop e2. Maybe castle, but castling seems a bit committal. Although he's committed. At this point, he's committed. I would expect rook to g1. Okay, let's check out the women. I'm sure we have many updates there. Okay, Tatev. Here we go. So d5 played, white took and went e4. So now this is like reverse Sicilian, basically. In terms of the structure. b4, a6. e4, knight d4. Okay. Black up 20 minutes on the clock. That looks good. Got the knight into d4. Also looks good. And next can just develop. There should be 6, queen d7. So, okay. Comfortable game for Tatev. Go Tatev. It's the Arena Crush. Arena against Alice. What's happening here? So knight e2, queen d7. White traded and went knight f4, c6. So white gives up the bishop pair, but has some very active knights. f4, c5. Now it's white to play in this position. This one's pretty double-edged. Because black is playing knight c6 next, has pressure against d4. And white's knight is on h5 instead of on f3 and e5, where it kind of wants to be. It's not clear if it's good for the attack or misplaced here. This one very unclear to me. Okay, Carissa. Let's see what Carissa did. Knight f1, knight e3. Should be 3, queen c2, knight g4. Okay, Carissa game still very solid. Black playing knight g4. I think has a pretty reasonable game here. Let's see, Nazi against Talia. Oh, this is the King's Indian attack. So e4 played. We saw this. d4. Now knight comes in. h4 and c3. So white changes gears a little bit with c3. Doesn't keep pushing on the king side as I would have expected. Goes c3 and now e5. e5 definitely very tempting move for white. Very logical, just to open up the bishop. And yeah, very typical move for this position. Knight g5, knight e4. This looks pretty nice for white. Nazi here is a two-time champion, so she might be getting off to a nice start here. First game. But Talia very strong. Very big fighter. So won't be going down so easily. Anna against Rose. This was the French. We had advanced French here. Queen d2, g4. Takes. Rook takes. Knight e5. Doesn't go g5, presumably because of rook g6, and then the knight gets to f5. So knight e5 played instead. Knight f7, f4. And white here taking a ton of space. This one is either very good for white or not so clear. But I think on knight takes e5, she's going to go de and have a massive pawn storm on the king side. This feels like this would be quite in white's favor. So I don't think we'll see knight takes e5 here. Very sharp position on this game too. Okay, folks, any games you want to follow, you let me know. Looks like Fabi's still thinking. A Wonder game heating up, Sevian game heating up. Lots and lots of action. Let's see Wesley So against Hans. So they had some updates here. After the queen trade, Wesley went bishop c2. Hans went bishop c4. So going after the d3 square. b3, bishop d3 as promised. Now bishop takes f4, knight f4 on the board. Bishop takes d3. Hans here going to recapture. This one looking pretty drawish. Feels like it's about equal. Hans has 45 minutes on the clock. 40 minutes extra. I'm pretty sure there's some anti-draw rules, like no draw offers or something. Maybe period. Maybe no draw offers, period. I'm not sure, but yeah. I think this first one, Hans is holding. Now, how about Andy Woodward? Andy going down on time. Playing his first US championship. Maybe a little bit nervous. A lot of cameras. Rook a1, knight c2, rook c1. So Levon kind of, he offered a repetition here with knight b4. Not that he was going to repeat necessarily if white plays rook a1, but interesting that Andy doesn't even think about it. Just goes rook fc1. Now rook a1. And now Levon is taken on c4. Yeah, somewhere, I don't know, Wesley mixed up his prep, but basically got nothing out of the opening, it seems. And yeah, that's the thing about e4, e5. It's very solid. If you get nothing, you get nothing. And just can lead to draw. So Black has just taken on c4. I would expect bc, but then he has some kind of pawn break in mind to follow up, either e5 or c5. Maybe e5. Ooh, we have an update. Fabi game. We'll maybe come back to this one. I'm expecting pawn takes and then e5, and I think it's close to equal, but the time is starting to bother me a little bit about Andy's situation. Updates on Fabi game. So after e5, Fabi thought for a while here. I think almost 20 minutes. Maybe more actually. Takes on d5, cd, and bishop b5. So he's kind of changing gears a little bit. I mean, this doesn't seem to be connected with the kingside attack. This is a little bit different. So now I'm very curious where Fabi plans to put the king. But yeah, clearly unpleasant move. Maybe he has ideas bishop c6, bishop d7. I'm wondering on a6 what the intention is. If black were to play a6, bishop c6, rook b8. And then trying to play bishop b7. Yeah, really not clear how black develops here. Because queen e7, you're kind of stepping into the pin. Just as an example, this kind of thing becomes possible, right? Which feels very annoying. Because white's going to take on f6 and then harass you on the king side. So this would be kind of black's nightmare. Oh, we're threatening to take on d5. Yeah, excuse me. So a6. Oh, okay, guys. I think they've started to turn tactics on. You know, it was a little bit quiet at first in the playing hall. There's a lot of sun coming in, umbrella, but now they turn tactics on. Tactics are in play. Tactics are in play. So let's watch out for the first tactic. I don't think we've seen a tactic in the event so far. In any of the games, there's been no tactics yet. Everyone's been very solid, but tactics are in play. So we'll see if players come up with something here. But yeah, this bishop c6, bishop takes d5. That's a very real threat. Very nice play from Fabi. Very like unusual idea. So yeah, tactics are on for everyone. Tactics are on. Maybe black takes. And then goes here. But then white comes in, queen f5, bishop d3, for example. It still feels like a very nice attack for white. So that doesn't seem like a solution. Take. And now this is also a problem. This kind of maneuver, queen f5, bishop d3, repositioning. So Oparin here, I don't know. He's gonna have to figure something out. I don't like white's position or black's position. I don't know what the computer thinks. I think white has a big initiative here. It looks very scary. So Fabi here might be scoring the first win of the tournament. And it doesn't look like too many other games are going to be decisive in the open. Yeah, exactly, Rita. So Fabi here might be early leader if Oparin doesn't figure this out. I'm trying to understand what he should do. I don't really see it. Which is not a horrible sign, but it's not good. I'm having a hard time finding ideas. Maybe g6. Maybe. That's not really the move you want to play as black. Because it gives a target. Well, maybe e4 actually. E4 haven't considered yet. Because this also deals with Bishop d5. Maybe e4. It doesn't solve all of black's problems. White can still play for c4, maybe f3 somewhere. This bishop becomes super strong. Oh, wait. Maybe that's an immediate problem. And white's winning the exchange. Black maybe tries this. We take. And then we win the second exchange. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I mean, this position might still be unclear. Like, it's pretty closed up, but that would be a big oh no moment. So e4, I don't think he's going to play. Oh, played. Played. Uh-oh. Okay, so he's sacrificing the exchange. Because on bishop c6, he's sacrificing the exchange. But maybe it's, I mean, maybe just bishop a6 right away. I mean, all of a sudden, this doesn't look very fun for white. Maybe objectively, it's like wasn't so great to do this, but I can totally see the practical significance of this, right? Like now this is unpleasant. Now white's king is never safe. Maybe objectively, white is doing well here. I would guess that white should be better with the extra exchange, but at least it's some practical chances. It makes a lot of sense. But that's not easy to do. It's not easy to sack an exchange against Caruana. You know, I mean, I guess he has difficult position, so maybe he just didn't see any other options. But it's interesting how much faster Oparin was, right? Like me, I just came around to thinking e4 is like, oh, it's got problems because we're sacking the exchange. He's already way ahead. He's realized like, okay, we're sacking the exchange here, but this is maybe the best thing we can do given our situation. It does kind of make sense. Actually, it's interesting. Interesting compensation. I feel like it's a very good practical try from Oparin. Oparin fighting back. Oh, looks like Wesley. So Han's game is officially drawn. Did they repeat? Yes. They repeated moves. And okay, quick draw. Not the most exciting game. I guess Wesley was surprised somewhere in the opening, or he mixed up his prep, because with white, you kind of want to get more from this. Hans is black against one of the top players in the field. I think he has no reason to complain or to be upset with the draw, because he gets pretty quick draw with black round one against one of his main rivals. So good start for Hans. Definitely better start for Hans than Wesley. And yeah, Wesley's like, oh, I wasn't expecting the thun. The thun within my eye, that couldn't be, you know. I just get, I love Wesley. But yeah, today the sun was in his eyes, right? So he couldn't, you know, he couldn't make a lot happen. But I'm sure he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be back. Wesley's great. He's always just in the best moods. Okay. Now Andy though, Andy down to 18 minutes. Ooh. Oh, takes. Oh, uh-oh. I was thinking c5, e5. Levon hit him with knight c5. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This is scary for white. This is scary. This is a tactic. Oh, this is the first tactic of the tournament. Levon cooking. Absolutely. Absolutely. He's getting revenge. He's getting revenge on Andy over the Grand Swiss. And he's like, I thought we were friends. Levon's like, there are no friends in chess. But yeah, this is a problem. And if you go bishop d1, then knight d3 is a problem. Although, is knight d3 such a problem? Let's say we go bishop d1, knight d3, rig b1. Because these knights are a little bit awkward. And so white can think about like bringing the king and slowly harassing these knights. Knight a2. Very nice move, knight c5. I mean, it's not like a pure tactic. This is one of those like strategic goals achieved by tactics. Because this is a strategic move, right? It's a positional move. You're trying to improve the knight. But it's achieved by tactical means, right? It has a tactical justification. If white takes the knight, black wins back the piece and then has a super active rook on d2. Pawn on c5 is weak. So this would be presumably very nice endgame for black. I mean, maybe white can hold on to both pawns. No, but then bishop hangs. So knight a4 is not possible. So there's no way to defend. Oh, bishop d1 e5. Yeah, actually, bishop d1, black doesn't have to move the knight. They can increase the pressure with e5. And then maybe white has to play knight e2. But it doesn't look fun. Still, we're under a lot of pressure here. As white. So Andy's gonna have to figure this out. Only 15 minutes for poor Andy. Hello, Blood Queen. Oh, Team Mojo didn't know your commentary. Nice. Nice. I love it. I love it. I mean, it's such a thing for people. Oh, the no engine commentary. It's like this new. It's just like looking at a game without without the. It's just like it's very simple. It's fun too. Very enjoyable. Happy for you guys. That's what's up. Yes. Shout out to Blood Queen, guys. Go follow Blood Queen on her channel. If you want to follow another improver and dojo regular. Okay, so Andy here. Oh boy. Really tough position for him. He's under some pressure here. And guys, maybe Engine says it's equal or it's white is fine if they play super precisely, but this is not the kind of stuff you want to be facing with 14 minutes on the clock. Move 21, so they have to make 19 more moves to make the time control here. So basically he's down to around minute and a half per move with the 30-second increment to make it to move 40. And yeah, black is putting some pressure here. We were looking at bishop d, so knight b3 is a big threat. Don't really want to take. We were looking at this, but then e5 black could play to put even more pressure. And knight e2, knight e6 even we were thinking. Yeah, even this is possible. Okay, bishop b4. If white takes, I mean, black is still getting in with the rook. I don't think we're really ever worried about being down this pawn as black. I think we would have tremendous compensation, but maybe knight e6 is not necessary. There's knight e4 as well. Can take first. Maybe white is like fine here. I don't have the feeling that white is necessarily in big trouble, but he's kind of in the zone of one mistake, right? Where he's got 13 minutes, and if he makes another inaccuracy or a mistake, he can get into a really, really difficult situation. So Andy, need to fight on. Let's see here. Okay, Fabi made a move. So e4 here. Very nice decision by Oparin, I feel like, offering the exchange. Is a bishop g3. I think he was just going to play bishop a6. Fabi doesn't take it. He goes rook to g1. He's like, I don't need your rooks. I need my rooks on the open g file. And yeah, if white can castle and double on the g file, that's going to be very, very difficult for black. So this one, I think, most exciting game of the round. At least for right now. Let's see, keeping an eye on other games. Lots of promising positions, but lots of action still to be had. Oh boy. Okay, what does black do here? So he played e4, dealing with the threat of bishop c6, bishop takes d5. that was in the air. But now rook g1, white is just calmly improving his position, and eventually there's going to be some big trouble on the g file. So black needs to find a way to get the piece out, especially this knight on d7 is such a problem. You guys see this, right? The knight cannot move. And it can't like maneuver via f8 like it would normally want to because the rook is in the way. Queen is in the way of the rook. The queen doesn't really have a lot of safe squares other than to just go back into the pin that it was avoiding. Okay, bishop b7 would be developing move. So this would maybe be where black starts, but yeah, let's say white starts piling up, rook g2. I don't know where black goes, rook c8 maybe. And then king d2, rook a g1. Starts to look really, really dangerous for black. Somewhere the knight will pull